Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Japa Diaries. Here on Japa Diaries, we document the experience of African immigrants in the diaspora. What did we talk about today?
We talked about mental health, discovering our mental health for the first time, the effects of relocating on our mental health, and just the things that we did to cope and get us to where we are today.
Yes, and please don't forget to like and subscribe at Japa.Diaries on Instagram and TikTok. Enjoy the episode. Bye.
Hello, welcome to Japa Diaries, a podcast documenting the experiences of African immigrants in the diaspora. Today we have a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, said guest?
Hi guys, I'm Faikat. I'm a TikToker and an Instagram influencer as well, and I work as a full-time UX designer. And I'm from Nigeria, born in America and raised in Africa.
Fantastic.
Dynamic.
Fantastic. Do you understand? Do you understand? So today I kind of wanted us to talk about, so I follow Faikat on the TikTok and I really like her content, and it's very aesthetic, girly, soft life, black girl luxury and that. But I noticed that like a lot of your voiceovers would kind of dive into like mental health stuff. And as I was getting to like, I guess know you a bit more from your content, I realized, oh, she's an African immigrant in this diaspora. I said, why not? Why not let us discuss the chaos that happened to our mental health as a result of being an African immigrant in the diaspora? But before we get into that, let's get to your Japa story. Like, how did it come about that you were going to Japa?
I knew I was gonna come to the US after college. For me, I did not want to go anywhere else because already like I used to come to America a lot of times, so I already knew where I wanted to go, and I also wanted to go to like the big school like Yale, Harvard, all of these places. Like since I was a little girl, I was very smart, so I was like, I want to go, but like
That's the Nigerian in you.
Yeah.
it was very expensive, but still, like I was lucky enough to. I got a full tuition scholarship for 4 years in University of Northern Kentucky. So I was like, if I don't have to pay for school, like, why force myself to go apply to somewhere where it's the same education at the end of the day? So I accepted the scholarship, moved to Kentucky from Ivory Coast. When I went to Kentucky, did my school, whatever. After that, I got a job. And then my job was like a rotational program. So I get to move around a lot. So from Kentucky, came to Atlanta. After Atlanta, I went to Miami. After Miami, they sent me back to Atlanta. So I've been like all around this way. Yeah.
Wow.
You're on road.
I've been an international babe. Even in America.
Yeah, that's what you said, and I didn't understand what you meant, but all right. Wow. So before like we get into your rotation, for me, when I first moved to the US, like that first year was it wasn't my hardest year. I won't lie to you because like, America should be Pepe in my time being here. But like that first year was a true culture shock for me. Like I'd been to America before, I'd, visited, I knew how it like, but I knew it as a tourist essentially, and not necessarily as like somebody who is now living and like getting into American society. And because of how big of a culture shock it was and all of that, I feel like my mental health suffered as a result of that. Like, what was your first year like for you?
I feel like for me, my first year was very wild and freedom. I think because I was raised in a house with overprotective parents. So they were protecting me a lot. So me coming out of the world, not having mom and daddy to be like, don't do this, don't do that. It was like, yes, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to explore the world.
Yeah, one of those people that they just let them go and their brain just scattered. Anything and everything, I want to do it. Okay.
So I feel like I was in my like experience mode, but at the same time, I feel like me experiencing things also led to me learning things that affected my mental health, both from like an individual perspective as well as moving to America.
Like
So,
what? Give me an example of that.
right, I would say moving to America for me, the cultural shock was racism. That was my cultural shock
Yeah, that's
because
a
I
big
feel
one.
like in Ivory Coast, there was nothing as black and white. It was just everyone is everyone. So coming to America and seeing that, first of all, with white people, that was weird. And also with African Americans acting different. That was also, because I was like, when I was coming, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to meet African Americans because I feel like, for me, it's like we're the, if anything, we are the same. But I feel like I felt more rejected by them than white people. So that was like, okay. But that's from like a cultural perspective, not from an individual perspective. I feel like I used to see, I mean, I still do. I see myself as someone very smart. So when classes weren't going my way, that would affect, or like when I wasn't doing as well in classes, that would affect my mental health. Also, relationships affected my mental health. I feel like there was so many things to me, and because I wasn't used to like think for myself from an African home, it's more like whatever
Yeah,
you want, whatever your parents want you to do, that's what you have to
is
do. So
that what
for
you
me, it was
do?
like, this is my first time that I have to think for myself and make decisions
Make
for
your own
myself.
decisions.
And that was also overwhelming. So,
I would say that education one messed me because I remember like for you guys did WAEC, right? You guys didn't do WAEC.
no.
What exam did you write?
We did SATs. I did SATs and then I did A levels because I went to a British school. So I did
Oh,
SATs and A levels.
And that was it.
okay. I have a
Okay.
question. Sorry, Malik. Non-British schools did they write WAEC?
What
Because
were
they
they
told me that
doing?
WAEC was West African schools.
No, they didn't write white. There was something called back. Maybe that's equivalent to white. I'm
No,
not
that's
sure.
like your IB, right?
I don't even know what it is, but I know it's called back. That's what I know.
I feel like
Baccalaureate.
fraud
Yeah.
has occurred. I
Like
feel like
international
fraud.
baccalaureate or bachelorate? How do
Yeah.
you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I don't
No,
no, I don't think anyone would like if you had your back, you're done. You're done.
no, I'm going to fight on this WAEC thing because WAEC is West African
It's
something.
okay.
I
It's
thought it
They
was a
okay.
convinced us
Nigerian
that
thing
this.
actually. I thought
It's
it was
okay.
a
They
They
were
convinced
whining
us
you.
that we all
They were whining
clearly,
you. It's calm.
clearly. But yeah, like that messed with me, education wise, because like I was also like I was like a smart kid. Like I still would consider myself a smart kid. But the US grading system is
It's aggressive.
is something else. Yeah, it's something else. Like their C is like a very small range and everything. Like I was so used to like
After I clear
essentially
70, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
clear.
good. But like here you have to clear like 85 and I'm like
Like,
bro.
that's
because
a lot.
90 is an A minus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Just
is
like, you need to
nice.
get 93 or 92 to get your A.
And for us, we were coming from your A is like 90 upwards. In fact, some places can even be 85. But yeah, that really messed with me. And I remember I would struggle from being like a quote unquote straight A kid to like now we got some B's, some B minuses, decorating my transcript.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel that because for me to at home getting anything less than A was like a C. Like my report cards had to be A. So for me coming to college and I'll see something else other than A, I was like, it's not like I wasn't studying. Like I would put my all into it. So I was like, what is going on? So I was not having it.
Malik, what was your first year like?
I mean, for me, like, I mean, academically, when I first came,
Academically, but even just like you.
academically, I was first on vibes.
Yeah.
I was first on vibes.
Yeah.
But again, like the reality was setting really quickly. Like, okay, I'm actually in a foreign country. Like the reason I came here was for school. Like, like I have to set myself up for life. Like, and just being around the pool of other Nigerians that everyone just knew what their plan was. Boom, boom, boom. They're going here, going there. I said, okay, like I need to actually take stock of what I'm doing here and come with a plan and get to it. So I was able to turn that around, thank God, very quickly. But yeah, academically, I was first on
Academically.
vibes. Yeah. Then I mean, like I feel like I had a little bit of a gap year which I spent not in school. So I feel like that year kind of helped ease me into my actual college years a little bit. Like I obviously had the culture shock of racism, and I feel like I could even tell the different types because my first gap year was in California on the West Coast. Then I went to school in Philly on the East Coast. So I could tell the white people I'm hanging around on the West Coast is different from white people I'm hanging around on the East Coast. I could literally feel the difference. But
Interesting.
yeah, I think for the most part, I like to stay in my bubble. Like I mostly just hung out with my Nigerian friends for the most part, so I didn't struggle too much mentally.
Um, so I say that to say, like, I also took a gap year, but I took a gap year at home. So I was in my parents' house. Like, my parents had also moved to Houston, so I was home with them. I didn't have that, like, oh, you're staying in one uncle or you're staying in a foreign home. Like, I had comfort in my home, but I definitely struggled with, like, trying to ease myself into American society because, again, my parents are also coming from Nigeria, so like they don't even have that buffer to teach me how to operate in this society. And I was also alone a lot because Malik was in school. We don't have any other siblings. I didn't have friends in the US at the time. So like I definitely was depressed in that first year. Like when I now think back to it, like depression has slapped me maybe twice while I've been here, right? But yeah, that first year was like really hard for me. And then again, coming from African mentality where like mental health does not exist to us. Do you
Zero.
understand what I'm saying? Like that concept doesn't even, like what was that like for you? Like what were your existing understanding or like relationship with mental health?
I feel like at first I did not know what was going on with me. I knew something was going on with me. I just did not know what was going on with me. Because I never, this whole thing of anxiety, depression, it was like, I thought it was spirits attacking me. I was like,
Mm,
what is going on with me? Why am I always tired? Like when you're anxious, like your chest, all of that.
yeah.
I was like, yo, I just came to America, like,
Demon.
like,
Your
you're doing what
village
you're
people have
doing.
come for you.
Exactly. I was like, I don't know what's going on with me. But like, when you first start college, they talk to you about all of these things. And then
Yeah,
I
that
started
is
like
true.
saying, oh, this is how I'm feeling. And I feel like I wasn't going for counseling or something. Because back home, I feel like I couldn't even tell my parents how I felt because of how Africans were. So I was already used to tell outsiders how I felt. So I think I met
You
someone
bottled
and
up.
poured it on them and made it their responsibility to fix me. And that made me attached to this person and created more health problems because if the person wasn't there, I couldn't stand on my own.
So
Um,
Yeah.
codependency.
You made
yes,
an unhealthy attachment.
yes.
Yeah.
So I was going through
Was it a
that as
romantic
well.
relationship?
Yeah, that was a romantic relationship. So I was going through that as well. And I'm just like, it was just a lot. But I feel like each time the person was around, I would feel better. But when the person was gone, when the person was gone, it would come back. So I feel like I was also very emotionally unavailable. I used to call myself emotionally available, but I was not because I know how to express my emotions. I can tell you exactly how I feel, but I just did not want to deal with that. So I would do things to run away from them.
From that feeling.
Yeah, until one day I just could not take it. Sometimes when you bottle things up and you just
Yeah.
like,
Explosion.
so I
Yeah.
think it just hit me, and I was in it for like 2 years. I dealt with depression for 2 years. I can actually honestly say this is the year I actually completely out of it. I don't feel it.
Yeah.
Girl,
Yeah.
no,
Cause it's
but
hard.
it's
Yeah.
it's a roller coaster, and we don't talk about it. I remember telling my mom when I think sophomore year of I don't remember when, but I told her I was depressed, and she made it seem like I did not know what I was talking about. She said, "No,
Yeah.
you're not depressed. Astaghfirullah, stop saying stuff like this. You
Yeah.
have to pray." So, and I'm just like, this is where the problem
This part
started.
of the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
because
first time I told my parents the first time I told my parents I wanted to transfer because like so I started school. Malik, do you remember this? You were there.
I feel like you made a PowerPoint for them.
I didn't make the okay, PowerPoint aside, all right. But I had gone to college, so I was now in college. I'd done like my first semester, and I'd come home, and I remember one day just like being like, my mood was trash. Like I went to work, I was working at Home Goods. My whole mood was yama yama, and I finally came home, and I looked at my mom, and I was like, I want to transfer. Guys, she started laughing in my face. She started laughing. She called my dad. Larry, come and hear your daughter. Oh, like please, you guys should come and help me because I actually don't understand what she's telling me. Like you guys were laughing. Malik, you were there, and I don't even know if you remember this, right? But like, imagine if like that's the reality of so many people. Like that was me calling for help, right? And that was the reaction that I got. Now, to be fair, I don't blame them. I don't hold it against them.
Don't kill me.
Like I don't hold it against them like after the fact because like I know that they truly didn't know better, right? Like if they understood the I guess the urgency of it, they might have reacted differently, and they did actually. When the red flags were red in even more later, right? But I just remember like getting that reaction and being like, well, I don't know how to talk about this to my American friends because I barely know you guys. Like, we've known each other for 3 months. My parents aren't really receptive to this. And I remember the day in school, I was like, let me finally try this counseling thing out. So like, I signed up. It's a whole process. You have to wait like 2 weeks before they see you. And man, the Nigerian pride in me, guy was hiding. I was so scared that somebody would walk into that waiting room and see me, right? Because I didn't know how to say I'm struggling with my mental health. Yeah, like I didn't know how to say that because like when I did express my need for help, it was shut down, right? So I didn't know how to like deal with that. And then my therapist, God bless her, she was a white woman. Like culturally, we did not relate a lot, and I think I also needed that at that time. I needed somebody who wasn't like in that like our cultural situation to give me an objective POV. And really I wanted to tell her like I think I want to transfer. I don't think I'm happy here. Like should I do this? And I don't know, first of all, you shouldn't really ask your therapist questions like that. They shouldn't really be telling you what to do in that sense. But it was the first time I was allowed to talk openly and freely about the chaos that was happening in my head. And that gave me so much relief. Like I think by the end of that year, I transferred.